The next section we'll focus on for satin stitches is in the underlay. Now the underlay stitches are extremely important to satin stitches, and I like to tell people that the satin stitches are to your top stitches what a foundation is to your home. They provide the structure needed to support the stitches that go on top. So when we fail to apply the proper amount of underlay, a lot of times the designs fall apart, and usually after laundering. And I don't mean fall apart as in they just completely break up, but it doesn't look as good after being laundered. They kind of break up. There's not enough support underneath to make them stand on top of the fabric and look really good. So the underlay also provides a great amount of loft for your top stitches, and if you use enough underlay, you can actually reduce the amount of density that you use in your top stitches. So there's a lot of important factors with satin stitch underlay, and as you can see on the screen, I'm showing you the different types of satin stitch underlay that are available. On the left you see you have a contour, and that goes around the edges, just slightly indented, and it provides a good base. You have parallel, which is a very common underlay for satin stitches. That's what you typically use on like woven sturdy materials. Centerline is used for really skinny structures where you can't have like a contour, and a lot of times it's combined with something else. And then you have zigzag, and zigzag is like parallel, but it comes back upon itself, so it actually provides two layers there as opposed to just one with that you see a parallel. And then we have what's my favorite when I'm working with satin stitches, and that is a contour with a zigzag. So it's combining contour and zigzag together, providing a really solid base. And this is something I will generally use on a little bit wider of satin stitches because you really need the support. And not only that, but it provides a lot of loft for the top stitches. And when I use this kind of underlay, I also lighten my density of my satin stitches quite a bit. But these are the different types, and I want to go ahead and get right into the lesson here. So lesson number 9 is on underlay. Satin stitch underlay kind of looks like this, what you see on the screen for a structure. I'm going to go ahead and bring the design up so we can take a look at it. So this is what you'll open up. This is SS_9, and what I've done is I've actually created or taken off the top stitching so that you have just the underlay showing here, and so you'll actually stitch that out. And that'll just provide as a guide as to what the different underlays look like underneath the stitches. And then in the next section here, the next row, you're going to actually have the top stitches on top of this underlay. And so it's just a really good example here. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the difference between the lines. You're going to look at how they appear after they're stitched, because you will see a difference, especially at this end where you have a little bit more underlay. And so you can see as it stitches out here, you're going to see you have that contour, you have a parallel, a center line, a zigzag, and then a contour with a zigzag right there. And then I added, just for fun, I added one at the bottom, because a lot of people want to know like how to create a really good loft on a satin stitch and make it really kind of puffy, because the more puffy it is, the more it sticks up, the more the light reflects off of it, and it just provides more dimension, even more than regular with the satin stitch. And so you can see that as I'll show you here, I have a contour, I have a zigzag, and then I have another zigzag. So I double up the zigzag in this to provide a lot of base under there and to provide more loft for the top stitches. So you're going to want to stitch this out onto knit and onto woven material. And I will just tell you that for me, when I'm doing a design, if it's a really thin column and I'm doing a woven material, I'll utilize either a contour or a centerline run. When I'm working with knits, I tend to go with at least a zigzag. If it's a really skinny structure, I'll even do this zigzag and I'll lighten the density on top stitches. But if it's a little bit wider, I will go with a contour with a zigzag. That is my favorite for working with knits, and it provides just a really good solid base and provides good loft for the top stitches. But it's generally on items that are 3 millimeters to 6 millimeters in width or so. I'll use just a regular zigzag for items that are less than that. So, and then again with woven materials, sturdy materials, I'm going to stick with a contour or a center run. I typically, I know you see in a lot of designs you see a zigzag. I don't use zigzag that often, or not zigzag, parallel. I don't use it that often, but some people do. So you'll want to stitch this out and take a look at it onto the woven and on the knit, and look forward to seeing stitch outs of your samples.